Right, but the whole amps in the same category, sounding the same, is completely avoiding the fact that a twin reverb and a triple rectifier are going to sound further apart than any two speakers, cabs, setups with the same amp. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't know, Dylan. Did you try running the rectifier on the clean channel? He was not happy with it whatsoever. Thank Crom, those days are over. Morning, everybody. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of SMG Viewers Comments, where I try to point out the glaringly obvious to the know-it-alls in the comments. And then every now and then, one of you guys asks a question I can be helpful with, too. I really like those, so feel free to leave some of those. Anyway, I'm shooting this on Tuesday the 13th, starting to get back into routine a little bit. Julie is off to an MRI this afternoon. Fingers crossed everything goes well, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm just killing a little bit of time before that, so I thought I'd answer some of your comments and questions right now. Oh, right, before we jump into it, I want to mention the Spectre Digital Annual Spring Thing Sale is on right now. It starts today. We're going to have details on that coming up real soon, but links in the description and all that. Make sure you check it out. Get in on it now. We've got some really killer stuff coming up. Details to follow. Anyway, comments and questions. Let's get to it.
I have no time for people who whinge about people like yourself who point out reality and the ridiculous prices that are charged by some. Paying a markup of hundreds of % because of a 5-cent logo sticker is just feckin' ridiculous.
Yeah, no kidding.
All these things are just fashion related anyway. One minute they're super fashionable, and then the next you can't give them away, relatively speaking. Personal example of this was the Roland SH05 analog synth that I bought in the early 1990s for £100. Analog was dead and digital was fashionable. Now analog is back in fashion, and the SH05 seems to go for around £5,000 plus ridiculous, really great synth. But
hey, Ralph, thanks for writing that in. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I remember the early 90s. I think I graduated college, 92? I remember going into some pawn shops in Toronto, like 1991. Yeah, pawn shops were where you bought used music gear before eBay came along. Anyway, I remember seeing old Roland Space Echoes going for like $100, that kind of thing. Because you couldn't give those fucking things away back then because they weren't fashionable. Digital was the rage. Everybody wanted digital this, digital that. They wanted all the rack units, all that kind of thing. So yeah, tape echoes definitely weren't cool. But then, a few years later, then that started becoming fashionable again, and space echoes are going for. I don't even want to know what old Roland space echoes are going for these days. That's for sure. Hell, I've got a 1966 Trainer amp that somebody just left at my studio. A friend of mine just left at the studio. He's like, "Here, keep it," because they were a dime a dozen. Now they're going for it's. Absolutely right. You're 100% on the mark about fashions. And I can think of a couple different American brands that are definitely coasting on the fact that they are fashionable as opposed to building quality instruments. Not going to mention any names, of course. One of them might have had the stupidest marketing campaign of all time, though, a few years ago. If you remember who that is, let's just say rhymed with... I don't know, what rhymes with authentic? I can't think of it. Anyway, you guys know who I'm talking about. So yes, fashion, it's a big thing for a lot of players. It's all about doing what everybody else is doing because thinking for yourself is difficult. Anyway, it is what it is. Stick around. Hopefully I can show you guys how to branch out from that and find your own path.
Recently opened for a national band who is going viral on TikTok. They did a line check and sound check and spent the rest of the time making sure the track levels were correct and above the real instruments. Guitars, bass, drums, vocals, all of it was behind them. None of this shit is real anymore. Lol.
Gotta love where technology is bringing music these days. It's certainly getting a lot better than what we had, when bands actually had to play on their own fucking records. Thank Crom, those days are over. And yeah, before a bunch of you guys go, oh, but well, yeah, you're the ones who are using auto-tune to sound possible. You are definitely saying, thank Crom, those days are over.
Hey Glenn, have you ever found a budget guitar with a good trem? While many budget guitars are great nowadays, it does appear that they're still lacking in the tremolo area.
Hold on a second here. Now, this is the SBS from Guitar Fetish, the Steve Brown signature. Killer fucking guitar. I've got a hardtail on here, but the more common version of this guitar actually comes with a Floyd. So I would definitely recommend checking out Guitar Fetish because yes, they do have Floyd Rose bass guitars. It might be exactly what you're looking for. That's the thing. Floyd Rose's patent ran out a couple of years ago, so everybody under the sun can make them now, and they can make them cheap. Are they any good? Fucked if I know, but you wanted budget. So I definitely recommend checking out Guitar Fetish. For what it's worth though, their hardtails are fucking awesome. It has returned! Lurching from the icy depths of the Canadian tundra, the Spectre Digital Spring Thing is back! And this year, it's fully armed and operational! You're getting Icon Drums, our brand new face-smashing drum library built for classic rock and modern metal, and the Singularity Virtual Bass instrument. Finally unleashed, ready to drop more low-end destruction than a collapsing star. But that's just the beginning. You're gonna get all of my courses. Total heavy guitar, producing prog metal, mixing symphonic folk metal, and mixing metal and Reaper with free plugins. Because why not learn from somebody who actually gives a crap about your sound? Still breathing? Good, because there's even more. You're gonna get Savage Grooves, Metal Essentials Volumes 1 and 2, plus the Blackened MIDI pack, and yes, even Alex Nasla's mixing and mastering a full metal album. It's over $1,240 worth of metal-approved production firepower, and it's all yours for only $224. But be warned, when the clock runs out, the thing disappears. No reruns, no mercy. Grab the Spring Thing now before it returns to the depths for another year.
I've wanted a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier for just about forever because of videos like this. I'm about to buy a 5150 combo locally for $550 instead of the $3,000 for the dual rack.
Oh, hey, Bill, thanks so much for writing in. I'm glad I could save you a whole bunch of money. Yeah, the thing about a 5150 and a dual rectifier is, yeah, they sound really close if you just turn the knobs. All you gotta do on the rectifier is just crank the mids up a little bit. So on the opposite, crank the mids back on the 5150 and crank the fuck out of the bass. You'll get very much within the same territory, especially if you're recording with other instruments in your mix. Remember, because you need to shoehorn that guitar into everything else and make it work. Yes, in a room, a rectifier is going to have a lot more bottom end, but you're not going to want to put that bottom end onto an actual record. So keep that in mind. Yeah, just grab the combo, hook it up to a great cab, and you're ready to go, really. You're going to have an awesome fucking rig just like that and save yourself a crap ton of money. Wanted to bring this up because it's time for the butthurt of the week, and I think that kind of ties in really nicely with the fact I just saved Bill $2,500.
All you do is capitalize on confirmation bias for people who are of lower means than professionals. You are making money off poor people. You're not a good person.
Yes, I'm a rotten person because I recommend cheaper amps for people who might not have $4,000 to spend on a premium amp. Yes, I'm fucking terrible for that, especially telling them to go find old 6505 plus combos for several $100s, hook them up to a cabinet, and get great fucking results with it. How fucking dare I screw over the people of lesser means? Because apparently, according to you, they need credit cards and they need to be put into debt for years and years and years so they can be exploited by people who have more money than them. That's how capitalism works. Oh, but wait, there's more. There's a part 2 to this butthurt of the week.
Also, imagine thinking the 5150 is a clone of the SLO 100 when the 5150 has more gain stages. The delusion is so fucking strong.
You know, a couple of years ago, I actually got to interview Mike Soldano on the show, and I asked him what he thought about the 5150. Let's just say that he was very diplomatic about the whole situation, but he was not happy with it whatsoever. And if you think the 5150 and the Soldano are not based around the same design, please do us all a favor and try spending some time on fucking planet Earth! Well, you still know everything, that is. Now, just to bring you up to speed about that, in case you didn't hear the story, what happened was Eddie Van Halen loved the Soldano, so he brought it to Peavey and said, can we make a couple tweaks? And that's what they did, and the 5150 was launched. That's what a 5150 is. It is a Soldano with a couple of extra tweaks. Denial, it's not just a river in Egypt. Okay, next one. This one's kind of lengthy, but I think this is a pretty interesting question here, so let's give it a shot. Hopefully I don't fucking run out of breath here. Okay, this is from DeathPod1975. Thanks for writing in, DeathPod.
Hey Glenn, long-term viewer here. Like the channel, have nothing against you. More power to you for making your channel work. As you all know, you're well known for your furious retorts and the strength of your convictions. I respect that. However, if we take this into consideration, I am curious as to why you never became an established producer. I'm not talking about mega producer, but somebody along the lines of Will Putney, Kurt Ballou, etc. Not household names, but respected names in the heavy music production. I took audio engineering school in 95, 96 and had a job in post-production. I had a chance, but I blew it.
Sorry to hear that, dude.
That was down to me, but I think you make valid points, for example, on cheap guitars, but I do not believe that these guitars would cut the mustard if a band like Metallica were to use them for 6 months or a year to record the Atom. If you gave the SBS to Glenn Tipton's guitar tech and said this is for tour, I suspect they would consider you crazy. Any chance of a 350-pound Harley Benton is going to survive a few nights being hammered by James Hetfield? The cheaper guitars stand no real chance with regards to durability and intonation. Thanks for reading, and best wishes to you and your wife.
Okay, Deathpod, yeah, a bit to unpack there. I'll take the SBS thing into consideration right now because, yeah, this is the Steve Brown signature model. And yes, this is a touring model. Steve Brown plays these guitars on stage every night. If you're into Trickster, and I know not a lot of you guys are, including me, I'm not really a big Trickster fan. I'm not really in the whole Kmart Bon Jovi thing. But if you go check out Steve do his thing, yeah, he's playing this guitar on stage, not this particular guitar, but he's playing his SBS models on stage every night. So it's one thing to speculate, but the evidence points otherwise. That's as far as the guitar fetish stuff goes. I don't know about the Harley Benton stuff. This thing's pretty fucking solid. As a matter of fact, a couple years ago on 70,000 Tons of Metal, the guitar player in the band, Tigers of Pantang, was playing Harley Benton's. He was popping strings occasionally, but the guitar stayed in tune and didn't fall apart on him. So there is that. Again, speculation's one thing, evidence is something else. Now, as for your question, why I never quote-unquote became an established metal producer, I think that's a phenomenal question. I'm going to try and be as honest with you as I can. First and foremost, I'm in Windsor, Ontario. Not exactly a great metal production hub. It's not somewhere like LA or Chicago or New York. Even just living on the border of Detroit, that border is a huge barrier to entry. In fact, the whole Canadian metal industry is pretty tiny in comparison. And again, Windsor's not a big metal town. I mean, like the big metal town in Canada is Montreal. And that's not to say I haven't done some label projects. I have. I've got to do, the first couple Woods of Ypres albums. Those went up on Earache. Done some stuff with Queensryche. That one left a real bitter taste in my mouth. Never got paid. I got to remix one of Jeff Tate's versions of Queensryche. It was just a whole big fucking mess. Everybody involved with that it didn't go well for a lot of people. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Here we are, like 6-7 years later. Yeah, Cleopatra never paid me for my work. Actually, that's not 6-7 years. Geez, that's probably 12 years now. Yeah, that was before YouTube even took off. And if you check out Despised Icons Montreal Assault, I believe, it's their live DVD. Actually, I reamped the guitars here at Spectre Sound. That's my 5150 on that DVD. So there you go. For the record, those guys can fucking play. Damn, those were amazingly well-played tracks. Shit. Anyway, so that's about my extent of working with labels. Now, here's the thing. I always see this, what's he ever done? What's he ever done? What's he ever done? Success doesn't always come in an easily recognizable package. There's many opportunities for other people along the way. And when YouTube happened and took off, I decided to go this way. And then I get to pick and choose which bands I work with because I have a lot of fun teaching people. Could I have done it? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I moved to LA at the end of 2018 to work with Warren Hewitt and the Lancaster Audio and all that kind of stuff. And, I got to work with some top level musicians and it was really cool, but that was kind of few and far between because the music industry had changed so much in that time. And the truth is I'm having an absolute blast doing YouTube and, getting to do Q&As with fine people like yourself and just demo awesome gear. And honestly, the path to satisfaction is a lot shorter in YouTube because I'm not beholden to the label system, because the label system would demand that I timeline everything, that I put auto-tune on everything, and basically make records I don't want to make because I don't like the sound of those records. I really don't. I'd rather go put on an old Priest record or an Iron Maiden record, with the musicians playing at their absolute best and maybe not as perfect as they come out today because those records had emotion on them. Whereas today it seems to be the audio engineer has gone from, trying to capture the best performance possible to editing the performance out of the record. And I just don't want to make records like that. Now, will that change at any time soon? Well, I'm not pushing for it, but if a major label project comes along and they want me to do something, I'm not going to say no. I've certainly got the gear to do it these days, but I'm having an absolute blast doing things as they are right now. As I said before, success doesn't always come in ways that are easily recognizable. Now, even though I'm not beholden to the label system, I don't have platinum records on the wall, my mixes have still been heard hundreds of millions of times around the world. And I didn't have to go through the label system to make that happen. So just keep that in mind as well.
Glenn, speaking of cheap amps, I was wondering if you do some research on the PV Classic 50 watt 2x12 combo amp. Loud as fuck, a little cleaner than some people may prefer, but it's a solid amp that I picked up for less than $400 and can certainly keep up with a live drummer. They have the PV Blue Marvel speakers in them, which to me sound better than the Celestion 30s. Will this comment get to you? Time will only tell. Would love to see your test if you ever get one with your hands on one.
Hey dude, so that amp's actually on my list of things I need to check out. Fine people like yourself have been making suggestions for cheaper amps I should be taking a look at, and the PV Classic 50 is definitely on that list. I got a feeling it might be kind of a Plexi thing. I don't know. All I know is this is I did see one at Ulf Blomberg's studio when I visited him in Malmo, Sweden last summer, and I'm like, ooh, I definitely want to get my hands on one of those. They're about 700 Canadian on the used market, so they're not terrible. 50 watts of tube power is definitely more than enough. I mean, like, I've got a Tube Workshop 50 watt Uwe Lewis model over here, which is just absolutely fucking monstrous. So yeah, there you go. I don't know if the Blue Marvels are any good or not. I definitely have to mic them up and see how they do, but you can always hook them up to an extension cab and get some awesome speakers, you know, like some Mojo Tone BV30Hs or something like that. Might be a really cool amp to check out, especially if you're into pedals. You might be able to develop something really cool along the way. Again, thanks for the suggestion and thanks for the reminder. I definitely want to feature it on the show at some point this year. We'll see what happens. Stay tuned for that. And oh yeah, hit the freaking subscribe button if you haven't already. Come on. Doesn't cost anything, and it is a gigantic help. Help me build this thing up. I need you to help me out.
Aren't groove tubes made in the USA?
No.
Glenn, I'd love your take of audiophiles who spend more money on their stereo playback system than the tracking and mastering studios combined.
Oh man, yeah, wow. Talk about drinking the snake oil there. Fuck. Yeah, audiophiles, that's the thing. I always love explaining to guys like that, you know, who spend all the money on the power cables and, you know, all the different bullshit systems. It's like, you guys realize this stuff was mixed on like a $200 set of NS10s, right? You guys are pointing out things in these recordings that the mix engineers never even heard. The thing is, though, I mean, like, audiophile stuff is cool, you know, and buying it makes you feel like you've achieved something. So I can understand the popularity because it just taps into that whole, I worked for this, I bought it, it's awesome trope that we all fall for. And when we all fall for, I mean, like, yes, me too. I've definitely spent some serious money on crap I didn't need. This wasn't a need. This was a pure luxury item. Yeah, I'm totally guilty of it. On the upside, it did fucking speed up my workflow massively. So there is that. And that allows me to spend time with the person who matters most to me, and that's my wife. So this is exactly what I'm going to do in about 20 minutes when I finish shooting this episode. I'm going to go make her lunch. Anyway, yeah. That's my take on it. Yeah, audiophiles, they definitely fall under the sucker born every minute or a fool and his money are soon parted kind of proverb. Always keep that in mind.
Would doing everything in one take be a good idea?
Hey, Aaron Morgan, thanks for writing in. So you're talking about, you know, live band off the floor. Some of the best records have been made that way. Queen would record live off the floor, like the band would record, and then they like overdub the vocals and that kind of stuff, or have the vocalist singing along and then just punch in a few bits here and there. Generally, that cuts down on the production time, and if the band can do it and pull it off, it can be just absolutely fucking brilliant. It's kind of like being a photographer and getting all your settings right in camera before you pull the trigger, before spending hours and hours and hours of it on post. Just because we can edit something doesn't mean we necessarily have to. A great example of a band getting it right in one take, well, actually they did about 17 takes, was check out the Beatles doing Twist and Shout. That's the take you heard just before John Lennon's voice died because, you know, they didn't have all kinds of multi-tracking capability back then. What is it? 2-track, 4-track, something like that. So they did that song 17 times in a row, and what we heard was just absolutely freaking amazing. The Beatles playing at the top of their game, John Lennon being pushed to the absolute envelope of his abilities, and it was just freaking awesome. And what are we, 50, 60, 70 years later, that song still blows my hair back. So yeah, there is that. Musicians sound best when we push them to the breaking point. They don't sound their best when they give a mediocre performance and we fix it later. And again, this is why I don't want to work on label projects, because that's the kind of record they'd insist on making, and that shit just does not make me excited. There should be more to recording music than just dragging the spikes onto the line.
At what point of polishing/editing does the product lose its authenticity?
If you're using auto-tune and if you're dragging the spikes on the line, you're not authentic. Great example. I gotta go to, there's a song actually by William Shatner with Henry Rollins guesting and Adrian Belew on guitar. Wildest lineup you've ever heard in your entire life. The song's called I Can't Get Behind That. And Henry has a line in there is that if you need to quantize it, pitch correct it, overly inspect it, then you can't do it. Words to live by.
$240 Leo James Monsoon off Amazon will blow away just about any $1,500 guitar out there. It's an amazing guitar for the price. Real Alnico pickups with locking tuners as well.
Yes, because Alnico pickups sound so much better than everything else. I don't think it's painfully obvious on every record ever made. Still, though, I imagine there's a little more money in Canada. That's fine. I will put that on my list of things I want to check out. Yeah, I definitely want to do a stealth buy on one of those and give you guys a recommendation. If they're as good as you're saying they are, I'd love to check them out, especially if they got locking tuners. I think that's really fucking cool. That was from the Adaptable Appellation. Thank you very much for the recommendation. You can look for that coming up on the show in the next few weeks. I've got I got about 6 Schecters I've got to review and a couple of others as well. We're going to see Ernie Ball on the show coming up real soon. And, new one from Badlands. That one's going to be super cool as well, too. So, yeah, lots of guitar reviews coming up. They take a little bit more time than I used to. I put everything I have into doing those reviews because I think you, the viewer, should be respected for your time. So I want to make sure it's worth your time to watch those reviews. So they're not coming out quite as fast as I'd like to, but it is what it is. I'd rather make a great video.
Thanks, Glenn. I was turned on to cheaper alternatives. I bought a PV Valve King Mark 1 100 watt. I know I recommended 50 watt combo for £200 UK. I managed to get a Bajera 1960 head and cap for £350, and I managed to sell the head for $300. He's great at finding out quality, cheap gear, but he's overlooked a great high gain Marshall for not a lot of money. Marshall DSL 100H, DSL 100HR. I got mine for a decent condition for £350. Glenn, please check it out. If it's Marshall goodness with all the gain you'd ever need for not a great deal of money.
Okay, that sounds cool. I definitely like to look into that. Prices may vary depending on your location. Since you're using pounds, I'm guessing you're in the UK somewhere, which is absolutely fine, but I'm in Canada and Marshalls go for a little bit more money in Canada than they do in the UK. It's kind of like how trainers in Canada, old trainers, go for dirt cheap, but they're a lot more expensive in other places. It really depends on your location, but I will keep my eyes peeled. If I come across one, I'll snag it, and I'd love to do a review on it, especially shoot it out against some other Marshall models as well. Thanks so much for writing in. Thanks for the recommendation. And all you guys in the UK, you heard it here first. Thanks to Jarish Jenkins. If you see a DSL 100, grab it now.
Given the current political climate, this makes me proud that a Canadian ran across an American product he actually likes, or maybe loves. Hell yeah, bro.
Hey, Tim, thanks for writing in. Of course, you're referencing the Magnatone amp I just reviewed. Yeah, it's a spectacular amp. This is the thing. I don't care about the country of origin. I don't want to get caught up in that kind of nonsense. As far as I'm concerned, there's good gear and there's bad gear. The Magnatone is very, 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 very good gear. Sounds brilliant. Records really, really easily. Probably worth the money, especially if you're looking at making a lifelong investment, that kind of thing, or something you can rely on 20 years down the road. I mean, I've still got my Mesa dual rectifier that I bought back in 2000 as a wedding present to myself. Still sounds phenomenal. So there you go. That's the great thing about expensive gear, though, is it's usually worth the investment. Built to last. That's the word I'm looking for.
I just hate supporting slavery.
Well, if in the U.S., if you hate supporting slavery, don't eat at McDonald's. Because guess what? In Alabama, they use slave labor. All right, that's it for this show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't, please consider doing that. It would be greatly appreciated and would be a huge help. And once again, we've got the Spectre Digital Spring thing coming out right at you right now today. Grab it now. Go get your hands on Icon Classic Rock/Metal drums and the Singularity Virtual Bass instrument, plus all my courses as well. It's one low, low price. It's only going to be around for a little while. Click the link in the video description and get it today while it lasts. So yeah, I'm gonna go spend some time with my wife. But thank you again for watching. And as always, if there's somebody in your life you care about, give them a hug today. See you later, and have a great weekend. Fucking hell. Recording music should be more about drum.